Good morning, students. Good morning, Madhav, Kiran, Mohammad, Parth, Ajay, Nikita, Sangeeta, and all others who are in the process of joining in. Yes, students, how are you? तैयारी ठीक चल रही है सब आप लोगों की? मजे में आप सब लोग? So, students, we are doing chapter 7, completion and review. And today we shall be doing two more topics, two more fresh standards on auditing, two more essays, that is essay 450 and essay 580. So essay 450 deals about evaluation of misstatements identified during the audit, and essay 580 deals with written representations, which you have been reading about in small parts, in little ticks and bits here and there. You are hearing this concept of written representations, but we shall study the concept of written representations as stated in essay 580 in quite detail today. Okay, so but first of all, we shall be doing essay 450, that is evaluation of misstatements identified during the audit. So you remember the term misstatements, students? You remember the term misstatements? In which chapter we had read this term, misstatement? Yes. And are you in a position to tell me the meaning of misstatements? It appeared in your chapter 3 in quite detail. Yes. Can you tell me the meaning of the term misstatements? Yes, guys, tell me. So, students, as the auditor conducts his audit, definitely it is quite probable that some misstatements come to his notice. So this essay 450 is all about how he deals with such misstatements. What is the process of dealing with such misstatements? Whether such misstatements have to be communicated to the management, and if so, in what manner? And if such misstatements remain uncorrected, then what is the responsibility of auditor in this regard? So this chapter, this topic, this essay deals with all these aspects of misstatements. Yes, Sangeeta, you are right. So essay 450 deals with auditor's responsibility to evaluate the effect of identified misstatements on the audit and of uncorrected misstatements, if any, on the financial statements. Okay, quite simple. So essay 450 tells us the responsibility of auditor to assess, to evaluate the effect of identified misstatements on the audit. This is the first part. So whatever misstatements have been identified by the auditor during the course of audit, so before signing his audit report, he would assess their impact, he would assess their effect on audit. Okay. what is the magnitude of such misstatements, whether misstatements are of such proportion that he needs to revise his audit strategy. So all such kind of things. And second part is of uncorrected misstatements, if any, on the financial statements. So what are uncorrected misstatements? So uncorrected misstatements are those statements which have been identified by the auditor during the audit, but these have not been corrected by the management. So this is the definition of uncorrected misstatements. Uncorrected misstatements refer to those misstatements that the auditor has accumulated during the audit and that have not been corrected. So students, obviously, you have to understand that when during the course of audit, an auditor identifies certain misstatements, then he would bring these misstatements to the knowledge of management, so that management can take action on these misstatements to correct such misstatements which have been pointed out by the auditor. So the misstatements which have not been corrected by the management, these are referred to as uncorrected misstatements. Simple. सो जो मिसस्टेटमेंट मैनेजमेंट ने ठीक नहीं की, क्योंकि अल्टीमेटली तो फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट्स बनाने की रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी किसकी है? मैनेजमेंट की. बक स्टॉप्स हियर. आपको स्टूडेंट्स ये कंसेप्ट हमेशा ध्यान में रखना है. ओके. सो if there are certain uncorrected misstatements, then the auditor will evaluate their impact on the financial statements. इससे financial statements पे क्या इफेक्ट पड़ रहा है? What is the impact which is taking place on the financial statements due to such uncorrected misstatements? Okay. So what SA 450 deals with, these are both objectives of the auditor. तो अगर आपने स्टूडेंट्स किसी भी एसए में ये समझ लिया कि ये एसए किस बारे में है, तो वो ऑब्जेक्टिव ऑटोमेटिकली ही उससे आ जाएंगे. उसको आपको सेपरेटली याद करने की जरूरत नहीं है, जैसा कि मैं आपको पहले भी बताता आ रहा हूं, एज आई हैव बीन टेलिंग यू बिफोर. ओके. So accumulation of misstatements identified during the audit. So obviously the auditor is going to verify all the financial statement items. So he has identified some misstatements in sales. He has identified some misstatements in purchases. So what he would do, he would accumulate all the misstatements. सबको वो इकट्ठी कर लेगा, and then he would see कि जो बिल्कुल ही ट्राइवल है, बिल्कुल सिग्निफिकेंट नहीं है, उनको एक्सक्लूड कर देगा, उनको छोड़ देगा. ओके. सो ट्राइवल मीन्स which are very insignificant. Okay. So consideration of identified misstatements as the audit progresses. So the auditor shall determine whether the overall audit strategy and audit plan need to be revised. So agar students, if misstatements are of such magnitude that they are impacting the audit in such a manner. So the auditor will see, he would have to determine whether it needs a revision of audit strategy and audit plan. क्योंकि स्टार्ट हम ऑडिट में कहां से हुए थे? We had started right from audit strategy and audit plan. Okay. So the auditor will see that if the nature of identified misstatements and circumstances of their occurrence indicate that other misstatements may exist when aggregated with misstatements accumulated during the audit could be material. So in such a case, he would determine whether revision in audit strategy or audit plan is required. Okay. That say he has identified certain misstatements, but circumstances in which these have occurred, these indicate to the auditor that there could be some other misstatements, okay, which could be material when these are aggregated with the misstatements which he has identified. So in such a case, he would see if revision in audit strategy or and audit plan is required at his end. Okay. Or the aggregate of misstatements accumulated during the audit approaches materiality determined in accordance with SA 320. So स्टूडेंट्स, उसने ऑडिटर ने ऑडिट स्टार्ट करते समय मेटेरियलिटी भी डिटरमिन की होगी एसए 320 के अकॉर्डिंग. रिमेंबर एसए 320. सो अगर जो मिस स्टेटमेंट्स ऑडिटर ने आइडेंटिफाई की हैं वो मेटेरियलिटी लेवल के आसपास पहुंच गई हैं, तो भी वो देखेगा कि जो है whether revision in audit strategy and audit plan is required or not. Okay. So when auditor identifies misstatements during the course of audit, while checking a sample transactions, while checking samples, and he feels that that there could be misstatements in related areas, so he would request the management to examine those areas, so as to determine the actual misstatements which are present in those class of transactions and account balances. So the auditor may request management to examine a class of transaction, account balances, or disclosure in order for management to understand the cause of misstatement identified by the auditor, perform procedures, or to determine the amount of actual misstatement in the class of transactions. कि उसने आपने कुछ सैंपल चेक किया, उसमें कोई मिसस्टेटमेंट है, तो आपने थोड़ा सैंपल का साइज बढ़ाया, फिर भी उसमें मिसस्टेटमेंट है, so that area is prone to misstatements. So you would ask the management to examine all these class of transactions जिसका की सैंपल है, और to determine the actual misstatements in those areas. Okay. क्योंकि सैंपल के बेस पे तो प्रोजेक्शन ही पता चलेगी ना. अब एक्चुअल मिसस्टेटमेंट क्या है वो that is management's job, that has to be determined by the management. So if at the auditor's request management has examined some transactions and corrected misstatements that were detected, the auditor shall perform additional procedures to determine whether misstatements remain. So number one, so you can understand, students, it in this way. Say number one, the auditor has identified certain misstatements during the course of audit. Now he would leave apart those misstatements which are very insignificant. Now for remaining misstatements, he would see that that if there is a possibility that these misstatements combined with other misstatements could be material, and whether it warrants revision in audit strategy or audit plan, or if misstatements which he has identified these approach the materiality level. So तब भी उसको लगेगा उस because he has to conduct the audit with professional skepticism, he has to remain alert. So obviously when the misstatements approach materiality level, then it is a red flag to him, it is indicator to him that he may need to revise audit strategy and audit plan, क्योंकि जिधर हाथ डल रहा है वो मिस स्टेटमेंट्स निकल रही हैं, और जो उसने मेटेरियलिटी लेवल डिटरमिन किया था उसको वो अप्रोच कर रही है. ओके. और अगर स्टूडेंट्स एंड इफ he has found misstatements during a pertaining to a class of transaction, account balances or disclosures, then he would request management to understand, to see why such misstatements are happening here, and and would ask the management uh, to to determine the actual misstatements, because on the sample basis he would be only projecting misstatements. Clear, guys? So communication and correction of misstatements, now this is important and you have to keep in mind. So students, ऐसा नहीं है कि मैंने कुछ मिस स्टेटमेंट्स आइडेंटिफाई की और उसके बाद स्ट्रेट अवे आई इश्यू माय रिपोर्ट, आई मॉडिफाई द ओपिनियन एंड इश्यू माय रिपोर्ट. नो, इट इज नॉट this way, it doesn't happen like this. So whenever the auditor identifies misstatements, he has to communicate misstatements accumulated during the audit to the management unless prohibited by law. Now this is a standard phrase which is coming everywhere in standards. Now by now you must have realized. Okay. So the auditor shall request the management to correct those misstatements. So why this requirement is there, students? Can you tell why this requirement is there, that the auditor shall request management to correct those misstatements? Yes, can you tell? Yes, students. Are you in a position to tell why this requirement is there, that auditor shall communicate misstatements with the management and it would ask the management to correct those misstatements? Yes. Yes, can you tell why this requirement is there? Yes, anybody? Yes, come on, students. Yes, Sankaran, yes. So that such misstatements are corrected. Obviously, logical, quite logical. Manish, because it is their duty. Yes, it is the duty of management to prepare correct financial statements. It is also correct. Yes. Anybody else? Yes, again, same. Rituraj, you are saying he should not qualify his opinion if it can be corrected. Yes, that's also correct. Because if the management is willing to correct the misstatements, then it's okay. Auditor's job is done. Yes, Rituraj, you are correct. Yes, Ashok, to get the misstatements rectified. Yes, this is also correct. And audit report may be issued unamended or unmodified. Okay. Nagaraju, please write correct words. Now you are writing AS 200. अगर एग्जाम में भी आप AS, if you write in the exam AS 200, so there would be a big circle. It is SC 200, standard on auditing. AS is accounting standard. Do not make such mistakes at when you are in module 2. Nagaraju, please take care. Yes. Yes, all of you are writing uh, near the near to the point. Yes, Sanjana Ben, you are also correct. So the auditor shall communicate on a timely basis all misstatements accumulated during the audit with appropriate level of management unless prohibited by law or regulation. Okay. So the auditor shall communicate on a timely basis all misstatements which he has accumulated during the audit. So the auditor shall request management to correct those misstatements. So timely communication of misstatements to management is important as it enables management to evaluate whether items are misstatements. So this is also important. Say students, the auditor has identified something which he labels as misstatement. But when it is brought to the knowledge of management, the management is of some different view. The management provides some fresh information to the auditor, by which the perspective of the auditor also might change, and he may agree to the management's point of view that treatment made by management for this item in financial statements is proper, and he may drop that misstatement. So this is also one of the reason. Yes, Ved Prakash, you are saying I have started attending live lecture today. Okay. So, Ved Prakash Vyas, were you seeing the recorded lectures earlier, or you are seeing the lecture for the first time? Were you earlier seeing the recorded lectures? Then it's okay if you were seeing the recorded lectures. Okay. Yes, Nagaraju, you are writing as this is not as per as 200. Okay. So you are saying that it is not as so. So take care, Nagaraju, to see that such things you have to write in such a manner that that person checking your copy does not understand it in a wrong manner. So the correction by management of all misstatements, including those communicated by the auditor, enables management to maintain accurate accounting books and record, and reduces the risk of material misstatements for future financial statements, because the cumulative effect of immaterial uncorrected misstatements relating to prior periods. Okay. So if management refuses to correct, now what happens, students? Now this is important. So the next logical question in your mind would be, what happens if I as an auditor point out misstatements to the management, but the management refuses to correct those misstatements? So two things can happen, that either management has a different point of view, okay, or although management realizes that the auditor is correct, but it is not willing to make changes to the financial statements, then what is the option available to the auditor? So if the management refuses to correct some or all of the misstatements communicated by the auditor shall obtain an understanding of reasons for not making such corrections. So that is why, students, communication becomes important. So if, say, management refuses to correct some misstatements which have been communicated by the auditor, so the auditor will understand at the first place why the management is refusing to correct those misstatements. Like I've told you that management may have a different point of view relating to certain identified misstatement, and it may put such point of view before the auditor. Or another case is that although auditor is correct, but the management is not willing to correct the misstatements, then the auditor would see effect of such uncorrected misstatements on the financial statements, and he would see what is its impact on his opinion. Okay. So evaluating the effect of uncorrected misstatements. So students, if some misstatements remain uncorrected, then auditor shall evaluate their effect. So, but before he evaluates their effect, the auditor shall reassess materiality determined in accordance with 320 to confirm whether it remains appropriate. So, say materiality में हमने पढ़ा था स्टूडेंट्स की उसको ऑडिटर ड्यूरिंग द कोर्स ऑफ ऑडिट he can he can see whether the materiality level determined by him it remains relevant. Okay. सो क्या उसको मेटेरियलिटी लेवल में चेंज करना है क्योंकि कुछ और सर्कमस्टांसेस डिस्कवर हुए हैं, इतनी अनकरेक्टेड मिसस्टेटमेंट्स हैं, तो ही मे नीड टू रिवाइज मेटेरियलिटी लेवल. So the auditor shall determine whether uncorrected misstatements are material, individual, or in aggregate. In making this determination, the auditor shall consider. So obviously the auditor has to consider that uncorrected misstatements, whether these are material, whether these are having impact on his opinion. So while making such determination, he will see कि क्या उनका साइज है, क्या उसका इम्पैक्ट है और क्या नेचर है, किस टाइप की मिसस्टेटमेंट है. सो मिसस्टेटमेंट स्टूडेंट्स रिमेंबर it can relate to account class of transactions, account balances and discussion. वहां चैप्टर 3 की स्टूडेंट्स याद है तो आपके लिए ये इस टॉपिक को अंडरस्टैंड करना या जो टर्म्स यूज हो रही हैं इसमें बार बार, इट वुड बी वेरी इजी बिकॉज होल थिंग्स आर लिंक्ड अप. ओके. सो while determining whether uncorrected misstatements are material or not, the auditor shall consider the size and nature of misstatements in relation to class of transactions, account balances, or disclosures, and effect of uncorrected misstatements related to prior periods on the class of transactions and the financial statements as a whole. कि अगर कुछ prior periods की uncorrected misstatements हैं, उनका भी क्या इफेक्ट पड़ रहा है. So the auditor will consider both these factors. Okay. So communication with those charged with governance. So this is again related to the same point, first point, which we have already done. So let us see what is written here. So the auditor shall communicate with management regarding uncorrected misstatements. So uncorrected misstatements के बारे में भी auditor communicate करेगा management से. And the effect that they individually or aggregate may have on the opinion on the auditor's report unless prohibited by law. So जो misstatements uncorrected रह गई students, उसके बारे में भी ऑडिटर कम्युनिकेट करेगा मैनेजमेंट के साथ, और उसका उनको ये भी बताएगा कि इसका मेरे ओपिनियन पे ये इफेक्ट हो सकता है, unless it is prohibited by law. So this point is always their standard phrase. So students, when the auditor has identified misstatements, and some of these have been corrected and some of these say have not been corrected, and the misstatements which remain uncorrected, the auditor shall communicate such misstatements with the management, and it will also communicate that such uncorrected misstatements may have impact on his opinion. So the auditor will also bring to the knowledge of management likely impact on his opinion beforehand. Okay, so this is also important. So what is the purpose of this, students? Yes. Can you guess, students? Can you visualize what is the purpose of communicating such a requirement? कि जो uncorrected misstatements हैं वो तो ऑडिटर बताएगा, और इम्पैक्ट भी बताएगा, लाइकली इम्पैक्ट बताएगा कि ओपिनियन पे ऑडिटर्स रिपोर्ट में क्या होगा. यस, एनी गेसेस? Yes, Sushil Barik, uncorrected misstatements, I had told at the beginning. Uncorrected misstatements are those misstatements which have been identified by the auditor, but these are not corrected by the management. These still remain. Before signing his audit report, before giving his opinion, such misstatements remain. Such misstatements remain present in the financial statements. So these are uncorrected financial statements. So again, the definition of it is of uncorrected misstatement is written here in the beginning at page 7.24. This is the definition of uncorrected misstatements. Uncorrected misstatements are those misstatements that the auditor has accumulated during the audit and that have not been corrected. Yes. Yes, students, I had asked you a question. What is the purpose of communicating uncorrected misstatements with the management, and also likely impact of such uncorrected misstatements on the auditor's report? on his opinion. Yes. Yes, Rituraj, so that management takes it seriously and do not ignore. Yes, that is the right way of thinking. Yes. Nagaraju, after communicating with management, there is no further procedure. What if not agree? Yes, he can modify his opinion. He may give qualified opinion or adverse opinion, whatever be required in those circumstances. Yes, Ved Prakash, auditor will check if pervasive in nature and accordingly he will give his opinion. No, my question was why he wants to communicate likely impact of his opinion beforehand. वो जब ऑडिट रिपोर्ट देगा तो मैनेजमेंट को पता चल ही जाएगा कि उसने क्या ओपिनियन दी है. लेकिन वो ये ऐसी रिक्वायरमेंट क्यों है कि वो पहले से उसका लाइकली इम्पैक्ट बता दे. Yes, yes, Harish Chandra, you are also right. That it may force the management to think seriously about it, that if we do not correct these misstatements, then these consequences would follow. That auditor would modify his opinion. He may even give adverse opinion. Okay. No, no. Manish, no, to show his power and rights, that would not be proper. So the reason given by Rituraj and Harsh, that seems to be logical. Okay. So written representation from management regarding effects of uncorrected misstatements. So students, abhi after finishing this topic, we shall be going to SA 580 written representations. So there you would understand that why does an auditor take written representation from management for a wide range of matters. What is the logic? What is the reason behind it? So for the time being, you can understand that. So for the time being, you can understand that auditor shall request a written representation from management whether they believe the effects of uncorrected misstatements are immaterial, individually and in aggregate, to the financial misstatements as a whole. A summary of such items shall be included in the shall be attached to such written representations. So, say students, some uncorrected misstatements remain. So the auditor would ask the management to give them a letter to submit a written representation that in their opinion, that in management's point of view, effect of some such uncorrected misstatements are immaterial, are not significant. So what is the purpose behind it? The purpose behind it is again to bind the management that look, that I, as an auditor, I had pointed out these misstatements to the management during the course of audit, but the management has this opinion otherwise, and they are not willing to correct those misstatements, and they believe that effect of these uncorrected misstatements is not significant, is immaterial. So again, the purpose of it is to somehow bind the management so that management does not escape from its responsibilities. Okay. So clear, guys? So documentation regarding misstatements. So students, again documentation तो important है ही. जो भी मिसस्टेटमेंट्स आइडेंटिफाई किए हैं ऑडिटर ने, तो वो उनको क्या करेगा, डॉक्यूमेंट करेगा. सो व्हाट वी हैड लर्नड during our discussion on chapter on audit documentation in essay 230, that auditor shall document significant matters which have arisen during the course of audit. So अगर कोई misstatements uncorrected है तो उसका obviously impact उसके opinion पे पड़ रहा है, तो it is going to be a significant matter. और जो misstatements management ने correct भी कर ली हैं, जो ऑडिटर ने accumulate की थी and these have been corrected, वो भी उसको document करनी है. Why such a requirement is there? Yes, students, tell me now why such a requirement is there. So the misstatements which were identified by the auditor during the course of audit, but still these have been corrected by the management. Still, the auditor has to document this. Yes, what is the logic behind it? Yes, what is the logic behind it? Yes, yes, students. So also remember, students, that documentation requirements which are there in many essays are independent of the general requirements given in essay 230, and these have to be followed. And these have to be followed. Yes. Yes, perfectly logical. Yes, Kokiniti and Ashok. Yes, both of you are correct. Evidence of audit. Because what was the during the study of this essay 230 audit documentation, students, we had learned that one of the objectives of auditor in maintaining audit documentation is to show that audit was properly planned and performed. It was planned and performed in accordance with standards on auditing and legal and regulatory requirements. So it would show, it would be a proof, it would be evidence, as many of you I can see are writing. Rituraj, Nagaraju, Ved Prakash, you are saying to safeguard users of financial statements. No, no, Ved Prakash, direct consequences, it safeguards him first at the first stage, so that it will prove that the auditor has taken correct steps. Yes, Mukteshwari Solanki, you are also right. Sankaran V, you are saying auditor has to document as evidence of audit. So all the points are similar. So the crux is that it goes on to show that auditor had planned and performed audit in accordance with standards on auditing and legal and regulatory requirements. तो स्टूडेंट्स देखिए, अगर आप एक लाइन यही याद कर लें, लाइक दैट audit was planned and performed in accordance with standards on auditing and legal and regulatory requirements. So when you write your answers, क्या आपका आंसर क्वालिटेटिव नहीं बनेगा? क्या उसमें क्वालिटी नहीं आएगी? इसीलिए सर भी आपको, राजीव सर भी जब भी आपसे इंटरेक्ट करते हैं, वो ये कहते हैं कि आप डेफिनेशंस लर्न करो, आप, ताकि आपका बैकअप बन जाए और आप उन प्रॉपर वर्ड्स को उस टर्मिनोलॉजी को आप यूज कर सको, सो दैट यू कैन यूज दैट टर्मिनोलॉजी. ओके. Yes, same Lata, you are also correct. Audit documentation can be used as evidence of future audits. Usko, the auditor can use it as a reference that these misstatements were identified and corrected during the previous audit. Okay. So the audit documentation shall include the amount below which misstatements would be regarded as clearly trivial. It means very insignificant. जिसका कि कोई, so it is connected with materiality. So all misstatements accumulated during the audit, whether they have been corrected. So list of all misstatements accumulated during the audit and whether they have been corrected. The auditor's conclusion as to whether uncorrected misstatements are material individually or in aggregate, and the basis for that conclusion. The auditor has to document the uncorrected misstatements and he has to arrive at the conclusion whether uncorrected misstatements are material or not. So, if uncorrected misstatements are material, only then it would have impact on his opinion, and it would only then he will modify his opinion. Okay. So clear, students. So this is again checkbox showing an important points of all important points of this essay 450. Now test your understanding. Test your understanding 4. You are nearing completion of audit of a company. So students, again, like I've been telling you, do not see answers given at the end. Just try to answer it from your own sense, from your own understanding. So you are nearing completion the audit of a company on going through your working papers. It means on going through your documentation. It is noticed that finished goods inventory was overvalued by 2 crores. And it has also been noticed that freight of 10 lakhs paid on import of machinery was charged to statement of profit and loss. So discuss how you should proceed and communicate in above situation before signing audit report. So tell students how you are going to answer such type of questions. Yes. Yes, guys, waiting for your responses. Do not see from answers given at the end in your module. Just just state from your own understanding, from your own thinking. Yes, guys. The question says that the audit is near completion and you notice कि जो आपने सारा काम किया है उसमें दो इंपॉर्टेंट चीजें हैं, दो मिस स्टेटमेंट्स आपने आइडेंटिफाई किए हैं कि फिनिश गुड्स की जो इन्वेंट्री है इट इज वैल्यूड बाय ओवर वैल्यूड बाय 2 करोड़, 2 करोड़ से ज्यादा वैल्यूएशन है उसकी, और फ्रेट जो है 10 लाख का मशीनरी की इंपोर्ट पे वो P&L में चार्ज हो गया. तो डिस्कस हाउ यू शुड प्रोसीड एंड कम्युनिकेट. दो चीजें स्टूडेंट्स आपसे पूछी गई हैं. यू हैव टू सी द क्वेश्चन इन द एग्जाम केयरफुली. How you should proceed and communicate in above situation before signing audit report. Yes. Yes, Gopal Krishnan, you are saying ES to inventory change, okay. But what it is? How you would write? Yes, Rituraj, at first communicate with management regarding correction and their effect. Secondly, ask for written representations. Yes. Hemlata, physical verification of inventories. कहाँ कहाँ लेके जा रहे हो स्टूडेंट्स आप? Yes. Yuvraj Joshi and Faizan. Ask management and why they overvalue it. First, communicated with management. Yes. Jyoti, communicate with the management. Yes, you are right, Jyoti. So, students, how you are going to answer such type of questions? So, you would say, first of all, that in the given situation, so many a times you are asking us students how to write the answers. So now I tell you how to write the answers. So while answering such type of question, you would say that in the given situation, the auditor has noticed that finished goods inventory is overvalued by rupees 2 crores and and freight on import of machinery has been charged to statement of profit and loss. Now both these are examples of misstatements. First you would identify what these things are. You would have to prepare a logic, a chain. अब ये students, now here you know that this question which is appearing in chapter 7 pertains to this topic because it is given after this topic. But when in exam such type of question comes, then obviously you would have to explain. Say this question carries 4 marks. Then you would have to say that these are examples of misstatements because you can write that inventory, the auditor has concluded that inventory has been overvalued. Okay, and the freight which was required to be charged in, which was required to be capitalized, has been charged to statement of profit and loss. Hence, these are examples of misstatements. So the auditor would communicate these misstatements with the management and ask them to correct those misstatements. And if the management does not correct those misstatements, then the auditor shall also communicate uh, likely impact on the opinion in auditor's report. So this is the way you have to answer the question. Okay. And yes, written representation, many students are also writing. This can also be written. This can also be written. Yes. So students, those of you who are writing physical verification of inventories, पहली बात तो आप ये देखिए स्टूडेंट्स, जो इसको फिजिकल वेरिफिकेशन ऑफ इन्वेंट्री के साथ कोरिलेट कर रहे हैं या वैल्यूएशन की बात हो रही है, इन्वेंट्री की एग्जिस्टेंस की बात नहीं हो रही है। और ऑडिटर ऑलरेडी नोटिस कर चुका है कि फिनिश गुड्स इन्वेंट्री ओवर वैल्यूड है बाय रुपीज 2 करोड़। उसमें प्रोसीजर की तो कोई बात ही नहीं हो रही है, वो तो सब प्रोसीजर्स परफॉर्म करके कर चुका है। देखिए क्वेश्चन आपको हिंट दे रहा है, you are nearing completion of audit of a company. It means that you have performed all the procedures which were required to be performed. You have performed substantially all the audit procedures. Now you are reviewing what you have done till now during the course of audit. The question is giving to you an indication. The question is giving to you a hint that the auditor is nearing the completion of audit. What is the name of this chapter? The name of this chapter itself is completion and review. Yes. Is it clear to you guys? Yes, students, tell me if this question, if this answer is clear to you. Yes. Yes, guys, drop a mail. Yes, you are saying it's clear. Okay, that's fine enough. तो छोटा सा ऐसे है स्टूडेंट्स, ऐसे 450 और मेन इसमें जो है आपको 4 5 6 चीजें दिमाग में रखनी है. So quickly I'll again repeat all those things so that you take away something from this lecture. Number one, the auditor shall evaluate identified misstatements during the course of audit. This SA 450 deals with auditor's responsibility to evaluate identified misstatements, to evaluate the effect of identified misstatements on the audit and of uncorrected misstatements on the financial statements. So, if some and all the identified misstatements shall be communicated by the auditor with the management, and if certain misstatements have not been corrected by the management, these remain uncorrected, the auditor shall bring to the notice of management by communicating with it the likely impact on its opinion. Okay. Yes, सुशील आप कह रहे हैं नो सर प्लीज अगेन टेस्ट योर अंडरस्टैंडिंग. सो सुशील, जो टेस्ट योर अंडरस्टैंडिंग में वॉट एवर इज गिवन, जो भी इसमें बताया गया है, इसमें 2 चीजें बताई गई हैं कि इन्वेंट्री ऑडिटर ने ऑडिट कंप्लीट होने की कगार पर है और इन्वेंट्रीज जो है ऑडिटर ने नोटिस किया है कि 2 करोड़ से इनकी वैल्यूएशन ज्यादा है. तो जब वैल्यूएशन ज्यादा है तो इसका मतलब मिस स्टेटमेंट हो गई. जो अमाउंट रिपोर्ट होना चाहिए था फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट्स में, उसमें और जो रिपोर्टेड है उसके अंदर डिफरेंस है. सो दिस इज द प्रिसाइज मीनिंग ऑफ मिस स्टेटमेंट. इसी तरह 10 लाख रुपए का अमाउंट जो कि मशीनरी इंपोर्ट करने के टाइम जो फ्रेट पे किया, इट शुड हैव बीन एडेड टू द कॉस्ट ऑफ द मशीनरी, बट it has been shown as an expense. So again, it is an example of misstatement. The amount which is capital in nature, it has been shown as a revenue expenditure. So it is again an example of misstatement. So दोनों misstatement हो गई. तो पहले तो आपको लिखना है कि ये दोनों misstatement हैं. सो अगर misstatements हैं तो ऑडिटर मैनेजमेंट को रिक्वेस्ट करेगा कि आप इनको ठीक कर दीजिए, ये आपकी फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट में गलती है. और अगर मैनेजमेंट ठीक नहीं करती है तो ऑडिटर पूछेगा कि आप क्यों ठीक नहीं कर रहे, व्हाट आर द रीजंस बिहाइंड इट. या हो सकता है ऑडिटर को कुछ और बात पता चल जाए कि भाई मैं ही गलत हूं, मैनेजमेंट ठीक है, कि मेरे हिसाब से जो है ओवर वैल्यूएशन है लेकिन मैनेजमेंट का कुछ और पर्सपेक्टिव है. और अगर मैनेजमेंट ठीक नहीं करती, अनकरेक्टेड है, तो ऑडिटर उसका कम्युनिकेट करेगा कि इसका मेरे ओपिनियन पे लाइकली इंपैक्ट ये रहेगा कि अगर आप ठीक नहीं करोगे तो दिस वुड बी द इंपैक्ट. सो इज इट क्लियर टू यू, सुशील? Yes, Sushil. Is it clear to you now? Please drop a mail. So now we come to another essay, students. Essay 580. This is also very simple. Essay 580. But it contains many points which you have to remember. So generally जो चीज स्टूडेंट्स ज्यादा सिंपल होती है उसमें कई चीजें छुपी हुई होती हैं और उसमें गलती होने के भी ज्यादा चांसेस होते हैं, क्योंकि उस पे हम उतनी अटेंशन डिवोट नहीं करते, उतना टाइम डिवोट नहीं करते, जो कि जो चीजें पहली नजर में डिफिकल्ट होती हैं जिन पे हम उतना टाइम डिवोट कर देते हैं. ओके. यस देवराज, गुड मॉर्निंग. यू सीम टू बी क्वाइट लेट. Yes, probably it is too chilling in Jammu. Yes. So what is a written representation? A written representation is a written statement by management provided to the auditor to confirm certain matters or to support other audit evidence. सो सबसे पहले तो स्टूडेंट्स आपको रिटर्न रिप्रेजेंटेशन का की डेफिनेशन जरूर याद करनी है. दैट इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. से आप एसए 580 रिटर्न रिप्रेजेंटेशन कर रहे हैं, आपको रिटर्न रिप्रेजेंटेशन का मतलब ही नहीं पता, तो सारा एसए 580 बेकार है. ओके. नो नो वेद प्रकाश, ओनली few essays are covered in this chapter. Only 5 essays are covered in this. 5 or 6 essays are covered in this chapter: 560, 570, 580, 450, and 260, 265. So a written representation, what is a written representation? Written representation is a written statement by management provided to the auditor to confirm certain matters or to support other audit evidence. So अगर आप इस लाइन को स्टूडेंट्स इसको ब्रेक करेंगे तो ये पूरा का पूरा ही इसकी जो रिटर्न रिप्रेजेंटेशंस की परतें हैं वो आपके सामने खुलती जाएंगी. क्यों? क्या है रिटर्न रिप्रेजेंटेशन? क्या है? इट इज ए स्टेटमेंट बाय मैनेजमेंट. इट इज ए लेटर सॉर्ट ऑफ थिंग गिवन बाय मैनेजमेंट टू whom it is provided to the auditor. So given by management to the auditor to confirm certain matters or to support other audit evidence. जैसे कि स्टूडेंट्स हमने देखा कि essay 560 में we have also seen, essay 570 we have also seen, essay 450 in this chapter we have also seen that the auditor seeks written representation from management to confirm certain matters or to सपोर्ट अदर ऑडिट एविडेंस. कुछ मैटर्स को कंफर्म करने के लिए लाइक रिलेटिंग टू द प्रिपरेशन ऑफ फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट्स, दैट मैनेजमेंट कंफर्म्स टू द ऑडिटर that this is our responsibility to prepare the financial statements. And say matters like completeness of all the transactions, that all the transactions which are represented by these financial statements, these are complete. So these are such matters which are again confirmed by the management. Now, what is the purpose? Again, the purpose is to bind the management. Again, you can link it to the point that auditors does not check, that an auditor does not check each and every item. So the audit procedures performed by the auditor have an inbuilt limitation. Remember limitations, inherent limitations of audit, which you had done in chapter 1. So therefore, to safeguard himself and also to bind the management, it is necessary to take written representations from the management on certain matters or to support some other audit evidence. So certain matters, like I've been telling you, like preparation of accounts, fulfillment of management's responsibility regarding preparation of accounts, regarding preparation of financial statements, or to support some other audit evidence. So जो audit evidence ऑडिटर ने ले लिया है उसको सपोर्ट करने के लिए कुछ. So this is the meaning of written representation. So written representations in this context do not include financial statements, assertions therein, or supporting books and records. This is also important, students. Written representations do not include books of accounts or assertions contained in financial statements and financial statements. आप कहो कि जो financial statements हैं वो भी तो written representations हैं, ऐसा नहीं है. Written representations are separate pieces of documents, separate representations from management, separate letters from management to confirm certain matters or to support other audit evidence. Okay. Okay. So yes, Mansi, if you are able to understand, that's quite well. If you are able to understand from our teaching, we feel glad, we feel vindicated. So written representations as audit evidence. Written representations as audit evidence. So students, if you have any doubts, queries, keep on sending these queries. These will be taken up after the topic is finished, as we have been doing earlier. So written representation is as audit evidence. So audit evidence is the information used by the auditor in arriving at conclusions on which audit opinion is based. So what are written representations? Written representations are necessary information that the auditors requires in connection with audit of entities, financial statements. Accordingly, similar to response to queries, written representations are also audit evidence. So एक और important point students arise हो गया कि written representations भी audit evidence हैं. तो देखिए स्टूडेंट्स, इस पे आपका एमसीक्यू भी बन सकता है. एमसीक्यू कैन आल्सो कम और some descriptive question can also come. So how you have to link up with these things? First, you will write the meaning of audit evidence. What is audit evidence? Audit evidence is, as you have read in chapter 4, audit evidence is information used by the auditor in arriving at the conclusions on which his opinion is based. So written representations are also necessary information that provides audit evidence. So these are also in the category of audit evidence. So when management confirms certain matters or when management uh, provides written representations in respect to some other audit evidence, so these also become audit evidence. So like in case of inquiries, students, say in case of inquiries, when say I as an auditor, I have sent a mail to the CFO of the company on certain matter and I get a response. So this is the response to inquiry. So this is a separate audit procedure. I have obtained the response to my inquiry. So response obtained is audit evidence. Similar to it, the written representations obtained by me from CFO of the company would be in the nature of audit evidence. Okay. So similar to responses from inquiries, similarly, written representations obtained from management also constitute audit evidence. So written representations are important source of audit evidence. So what would happen if management doesn't provide written representations? So it may alert the auditor to the possibility that there could be some issues in the financial statements. Okay. So if management modifies or does not provide the requested written representation, it may alert the auditor to the responsibility that one or more significant issues may exist. Further, a request for written rather than oral representations in many cases may prompt management to consider such matters more rigorously, thereby enhancing the quality of representation. So this is also one of the purpose of written representation. So when the auditor asks something in writing from the management, when the auditor asks something, some matter to the management to confirm in writing, so obviously जब लिखना पड़ता है और साइन करने पड़ते हैं ना, तो आपका दिमाग भी थोड़ा अलर्ट रहता है, आपका आप उस मैटर को सीरियसली लेते हैं. सो ऑब्वियसली अगर मैं कोई आप किसी से ओरली बात कर रहे हैं तो कुछ भी बोल देंगे, लेकिन जब आपको रिटर्न लिखना पड़ता है तो आप सिग्नेचर करने से पहले सोचेंगे उसको कि इसका क्या इफेक्ट होने वाला है. ओके. सो नाउ दिस इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट स्टूडेंट्स, वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. इसके ऊपर कई बार क्वेश्चन भी आ चुका है. So we have learned that written representations are audit evidence, but we have to remember that these are, although these are necessary audit evidence, these do not constitute sufficient appropriate audit evidence. Very important, students. से स्टूडेंट्स, आपको किसी बारे में, किसी एजर्शन के बारे में आपको कोई एविडेंस लेना है, तो आप कहते हो कि आई डू नॉट टेक दैट एविडेंस, आई टेक रिटर्न रिप्रेजेंटेशन फ्रॉम मैनेजमेंट. इट वुड बी वेरी इजी फॉर यू, इट वुड बी वेरी सिंपल, टेक ए लेटर फ्रॉम द मैनेजमेंट टू कंफर्म सर्टेन मैटर्स. आसान हो गया ना, मैनेजमेंट का काम भी आसान हो गया, आपका काम भी आसान हो गया. बट इट इज नॉट सच ए केस. Why? Because written representations by themselves on their own, these do not constitute sufficient appropriate audit evidence. So these only constitute necessary audit evidence. So starting से student हम chapter 1, chapter 4 में what we have been reading, that auditor has to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence. We have read this term n number of times. that auditor has to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence. But written representations on their own, these do not constitute sufficient appropriate audit evidence. Their purpose is to support other evidence. Although they are pieces of audit evidence, although they are audit evidence, but they are necessary audit evidence, but not sufficient appropriate audit evidence. Clear? Yes, students, is the point clear to you? So furthermore, the fact that management has provided reliable written representations does not affect the nature or extent of other audit evidence that auditor obtains about fulfillment of management's responsibilities or about specific assertions. And again, say if the management has provided written representation on some matter, it does not relieve in any way the auditor of his responsibilities. वो उसका कोई जो उसने प्रोसीजर्स करने हैं, जो उसने प्रोसीजर्स परफॉर्म करने हैं, उस पे उसका कोई इंपैक्ट नहीं रहेगा, उसकी नेचर या टाइमिंग पे कोई इंपैक्ट नहीं रहेगा. वो तो जो उसने ऑडिट एविडेंस ऑब्टेन करना है आपने प्रोसीजर्स परफॉर्म करने के लिए, उसको सिर्फ सपोर्ट करता है. इट ओनली सपोर्ट्स. ओके. So now what does SA 580 deal with? So this was an overview of what written representations are all about. What is their meaning? What is their nature? So अगर आपने ये सब चीजें समझ ली स्टूडेंट्स, ये बेसिक पॉइंट समझ लिया, तो SA 580 सब कुछ नेचुरली इससे फ्लो करता है. सब चीजें इससे ही इसी की लाइन में है आगे. So SA 580 deals with auditor's responsibility to obtain written representations from management or where appropriate TCWG, those charged with governance. Okay. Yes, Hemlata, you are saying please explain second point of written representation. Which second point you are asking, Hemlata? Whether you are asking this point, necessary audit evidence and sufficient appropriate audit evidence. Yes, Hemlata, please confirm so that we can move further. Whether you are asking this point or what you are asking. Yes. Yes, Hemlata. So written representation deals with the auditor's responsibility to obtain written representations from management and where appropriate those charged with governance. So simple, it states that auditor has to obtain written representation from management. It deals with this responsibility of auditor. So remember again, students, standards on auditing deal with responsibilities of auditor. All standards on auditing mainly deal with the responsibilities of the auditor regarding to various aspects. Yes, you are saying purpose of written representation. Okay, so the purpose of written representation, Hemlata, is say the auditor has to obtain certain audit evidence, say in respect of say sales. Then auditor would perform audit procedures in relation to sales. Now he cannot escape the responsibility, his responsibility merely by relying upon the written representations. So written representations do not in any way affect nature or timing of his procedures. Okay. And when the another what when you are talking about the purpose of written representation, you have to understand, Hemlata, that when an auditor asks for written representations from management, then management has to consider some matters, has to consider some things in writing. It has to confirm some matters in writing. So obviously, when the management has to confirm some matters in writing, it would take these matters more seriously. So consider the situation if the management had to confirm certain matters orally versus when management has to confirm some matters in writing. So obviously in the second case, the management is going to take such matters more seriously. It would devote more time to these matters. So it would try to give correct representations. The quality of such representations would improve. And another purpose is that when the auditor asks for written representations from management and the management doesn't provide it, so obviously the auditor would think why management is not providing it. It may alert the auditor to the fact that there could be some problem in the financial statements, that some issues could be there. Yes. So written representations deal with the auditor's responsibility. SA 580 deals with the auditor's responsibility to obtain written representations from management. So what are the objectives of auditor? Objective of auditor in accordance with SA 580 are twofold. Number one, to obtain written representation from management that they believe they have fulfilled the responsibility for preparation of financial statements and for completion of the information provided to the auditor, and to support other audit evidence relevant to the financial statements or specific assertions. So the objectives of auditor are twofold as per SA 580. What are these objectives? One thing is that management will confirm to the auditor that look, we have prepared these financial statements, we have fulfilled our responsibility for preparation of financial statements, and we have provided to you the complete information. And second is it supports the other audit evidence which may be relevant to the auditor, and or which is relevant to the assertions contained in financial statements. Okay. And also to respond to written representations provided by the management. Now, this is also an additional objective, to respond to written representation provided by the management, and where appropriate, those charged with governance if such written representations are not provided. So if such written representations are not provided, the auditor would obviously communicate, it would obviously respond. So we will come to all these things one by one. So from whom written representations are requested by auditor? So obviously, very simple, written representations are requested by auditor from management. The auditor would request management to give a written representation that you have fulfilled all your responsibilities regarding preparation of financial statements, or they may be called to support some other audit evidence. So again, जो आपने रिटर्न रिप्रेजेंटेशन का स्टूडेंट्स मतलब समझा है वही सब कुछ अगेन दोबारा से है इन डिफरेंट फॉर्म. So written representations about management's responsibilities. So first type of written representation is about management's responsibilities. Now in such kind of written representation, the management confirms the fulfillment of management's responsibilities in following areas. Yes, Bala Murli, those charged with governance means the people who are responsible for governing the company, those who are responsible for running the show. So you would get more clarity on it when we do another essay in next lecture within this chapter. Okay. So for the time being, you can understand this much. So preparation of financial statements, the auditor shall request management to provide a written representation that it has fulfilled its responsibility for the preparation of financial statements in accordance with applicable financial reporting framework. ये तो उसको बताना ही है. So due to its responsibility for preparation and presentation of financial statements and its responsibilities for conduct of entities business, management would be expected to have sufficient knowledge of process followed by the entity in preparing the financial statement and assertions on which to base the written representations. Okay, very simple. Now next point is also important. So students, we had learned in chapter 4 that that management can seek the help of some persons for preparation of financial statements, like where some such persons may have some specialized knowledge. So the management may decide to use their knowledge for preparation of financial statements, like internal counsel, legal counsel who may provide information essential to provision for legal claims. कितने क्लेम्स आउटस्टैंडिंग है, कितने कोई किसी ने कंपनी के अगेंस्ट कोई कोर्ट में केस किए हुए हैं, उनका क्या स्टेटस है, क्या उनका लाइबिलिटी कंपनी के अगेंस्ट क्या हो सकती है, क्या उसके बारे में प्रोविजन बनाना जरूरी है. ओके. So these kind of things. Staff engineers who may have responsibility for and specialized knowledge about environmental liability measurements. तो किसी भी स्पेशलाइज्ड फील्ड में ये स्टूडेंट्स आपके लिए सिर्फ एग्जांपल्स लिखे गए हैं. एक्चुअरीज, लाइक एक्चुअरीज हमने पढ़ा था स्टूडेंट्स कि हाँ भाई चैप्टर 5 में पढ़ा था कि वो रिस्क मेजरमेंट के लिए उनका फंक्शन है फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट्स में. ओके. सो सर्विसेज ऑफ एक्चुअरीज आर यूज्ड in insurance companies and even in banks also. So in some cases the management may decide to make inquiries of others who participate in preparing the financial statements and assertions therein, including individuals who have specialized knowledge relating to matters about which written representations are requested. Okay. तो जिन मैटर्स के बारे में रिटर्न रिप्रेजेंटेशन रिक्वेस्टेड है, जो ऑडिटर रिक्वेस्ट कर रहा है, तो रिटर्न रिप्रेजेंटेशन देने से पहले मैनेजमेंट अपने लेवल पे इन लोगों से भी पूछ सकती है, क्योंकि रिटर्न रिप्रेजेंटेशन तो मैनेजमेंट ने देनी है, अल्टीमेट रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी तो मैनेजमेंट की है. लेकिन इन लोगों ने जिनकी स्पेशलाइज नॉलेज है और जिन्होंने जिनके वर्क पे रिलाई करके मैनेजमेंट ने फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट्स बनाई हैं, तो रिटर्न रिप्रेजेंटेशन देने से पहले मैनेजमेंट इन लोगों से भी पूछ सकती है, ओके, कि वेदर यू हैव गिवन द कंप्लीट इंफॉर्मेशन और नॉट. So students, again, this para is also important. Many time question has also come from here also. In some cases, management may include in the written representations qualifying language to the effect that representations are made to the best of its knowledge and belief. So students, what is qualifying language? Yes. Can anybody tell me what is qualifying language? Yes. Yes. Anyone? Yes. Any one of you guys, can anyone tell me what is the meaning of qualifying language? Yes. Any idea, students? Any one of you? Yes. Bala Murli Krishna, what you are saying? STUTE. What is the meaning of this? Please enlighten me. Please help me in increasing my knowledge. What is the meaning of this word? STUTE. Yes. Yes, Sankaran. Yes. Safeguarding. Yes. Sankaran, you are nearing the point. Yeah, Rituraj, you are also somewhat correct. Hemlata, you are saying use words that makes a statement less or more certain. Yes, probably. Qualified opinion on misstatements. But my question was, what is qualifying language? Okay. Balamurli, you are saying statute language. To be on safe side. Yes, Rituraj. Yes, it is it. So qualifying language means that, say, if I give a statement, like say, if I say to you, I shall come tomorrow. I'll come tomorrow to your place. Now this is a clean. I'm making a general clean statement. I'll come to your place tomorrow. So if I say to you, I'll come to your place tomorrow, subject to something that say if my if this thing happens, I may not be able to come. So subject to something which is dependent upon certain factors. Okay, may or may not be. Yes, Kadambri. Yes. So in some cases, management may include in the written representations qualifying language to the effect that representations are made to best of its knowledge and belief. Like, like when I say that I have prepared the financial statements to best of my knowledge and belief. Okay. And this is subject to something. So I use a qualifying language. I do not make a sweeping statement. I do not make a clean sweeping statement. So such type of language is also allowed. So SA 580 says some such type of language is also allowed. So it is reasonable for the auditor to accept such wording if the auditor is satisfied that representations are being made by management, uh, by responsible persons within the management, the persons who are in the know-how of the things. These are made by such responsible persons. Okay. And to reinforce the need for management to make informed representations, the auditor may request the management to include in the written representations confirmation that it has made such inquiries as is considered appropriate. So, like inquiries of this type. So, the auditor can ask management to write in the written representation that they have conducted inquiries from certain persons who are having specialized knowledge, and they have provided us the inputs, and like that. Okay. Clear to you guys? So Jay Patel is yearning for a break. So okay, so we fulfill the wishes of Jay Patel. So students, see you after a break of 5 minutes. So break of 5 minutes. Yes, welcome back, guys. So, Anmol, qualifying language is you can't say that it is something confidential. No, no, it is not a confidential statement. Yes, Sushil, you have probably gone, but meaning of qualifying is you have to distinguish it from a sweeping statement. एक जनरल स्टेटमेंट से आपको उसको डिस्टिंग्विश करना है कि उसके उसमें कुछ इफ्स एंड बट्स हैं, कुछ कंडीशंस हैं. ओके. सो इंफॉर्मेशन प्रोवाइडेड एंड completeness of transaction. So the auditor shall also request management to provide a written representation that it has provided the auditor with all the relevant information and access as agreed to the in the terms of audit engagement, and all transactions have been recorded and reflected in the financial statement. So again, the same thing, that management would confirm two things. Number one, that it was their responsibility to prepare financial statements, and the auditor would ask for a written representation in this regard. And second is that management would confirm by way of written representation that they have provided the auditor with all the relevant information and access to books, to records, to all the information as was agreed in the terms of audit engagement. And all the transactions have been all the transactions that have been recorded and are reflected in the financial statements. Okay. So why written representations about management responsibilities are necessary, students? Why written representations of management responsibilities are necessary? Why does management need to acknowledge that they have fulfilled their responsibilities for preparation of financial statements? And why they need to confirm to the auditor that they have provided all the information to the auditor and they have given all the access as was required by the auditor and as was agreed in the terms of engagement. So therefore, students, you have to understand that auditor doesn't check each and every transaction. He conducts his audit he may conduct his audit on a sample basis, on a sample checking. So and he has no independent mechanism with him to confirm that that management has provided him all the necessary information. So therefore a separate written representation from management is necessary in this regard. Okay. So, for example, the auditor could not conclude that management has provided the auditor with all relevant information agreed in terms of audit engagement without asking it whether and receiving confirmation that such information has been provided. So, उससे आप मैनेजमेंट से एक बार कंफर्म तो करवाओगे, ये ऑडिटर को सेफगार्ड करेगा बाद में. Such type of things safeguard the auditor. That is why the requirement of written representation from management regarding fulfillment of management responsibility in relation to preparation of financial statements and completion of information provided to the auditor is necessary. Okay. So this becomes more relevant. This type of representation becomes more relevant, say, when the management has changed, like terms of audit engagement were agreed with some previous management, and now that management is changed. So that in such cases, such representations become more relevant. It doesn't mean that these have to be taken only in such cases. It only means that in such cases they become more relevant. Like the persons who signed the terms of audit engagement, they are not no longer responsible, or they do not have now the same responsibilities in the company or in the entity, or there may be some change in circumstances. So again, remember students that written representations have to be taken, but these become more relevant, more appropriate in such cases regarding management's fulfillment of responsibilities relating to preparation of accounts and completeness of information. Okay. Now, other written representations. Now, besides written representations relating to acknowledgement of management of fulfilling its responsibilities, the auditor can also request the management for other written representations. Okay. So, like the auditor determines that it is necessary to obtain one or more written representations to support other audit evidence related to financial statements, or one or more specific assertions in the financial statements, then the auditor shall request such other written representations, like whether the selection and application of accounting policies are appropriate. So the auditor can seek written representation in this regard regarding contingent liabilities. Okay. Regarding the plans or intentions that may affect the carrying value of assets and liabilities. Okay. कि भैया डेटर के बारे में कोई प्रोविजन करना है कि नहीं, उसकी जो कैरिंग वैल्यू ठीक है या नहीं. तो किसी भी एसर्शन के बारे में, किसी भी दूसरे ऑडिट एविडेंस को सपोर्ट करने के बारे में ऑडिटर जो है मैनेजमेंट से रिटर्न रिप्रेजेंटेशन ले सकता है. ही कैन टेक रिटर्न रिप्रेजेंटेशन. ओके. In addition to written representations required by the auditor regarding management responsibility about information provided to the auditor may consider it necessary to request management to provide a written representation that it has communicated to the auditor all deficiencies in internal control of which management is aware. So students, this is also a new point. So the auditor can request the management to provide a written representation that certain deficiencies in the internal control system, which the management is already aware, these have been communicated to the auditor. So the management can provide a written representation on this matter. So the internal control system of the company may not be operating properly, say in one or two areas. So the company may confirm to the auditor the deficiencies in these areas beforehand. The management may confirm to the auditor by way of written representation. It may communicate to the auditor by way of written representation deficiencies in internal control which are in the knowledge of the management, for which management is aware. Okay. So written representations about specific assertions. Written representations about specific assertions. So again, students, these are general points. When obtaining evidence about or evaluating judgments and intentions, the auditor may consider one or more of the following. सो ये तो आपको पता ही है, दिस यू ऑलरेडी नो, that when an auditor evaluates audit evidence, he would consider why a specific course of action has been taken by the management. Say if management has adopted a particular policy, has chosen a particular accounting policy, then what is the reason behind it? Which circumstances have prompted the management to choose a particular path, to choose a particular policy? Okay, so therefore the auditor may consider it necessary to request management to provide written representations about specific assertions in the financial statements to support an understanding that auditor has obtained from other audit evidence of management's judgment in relation to the completeness of a specific assertion. So same point is again repeated, that auditor has obtained audit evidence in relation to some assertion, and now it is asking from the management by way of written representation to support this point. Okay. Now, date of and period covered by written representation. This is very important, students. रिटर्न रिप्रेजेंटेशन पे डेट क्या होनी चाहिए? विच डेट शुड बी देयर ऑन द रिटर्न रिप्रेजेंटेशन? यस. सो स्टूडेंट्स, रिटर्न रिप्रेजेंटेशन पे डेट जो होगी वो कौन सी होगी? रिटर्न रिप्रेजेंटेशन पे डेट होगी विच इज नियर द कंप्लीशन ऑफ, near the date of audit report, near the completion of audit, but not after the date of audit report. So students, इसके पीछे क्या लॉजिक है? Can you tell me what is the logic behind it? That written representation shall be as near as practicable to the date of auditor's report on the financial statements. कि जो मैनेजमेंट रिटर्न रिप्रेजेंटेशन देगी उस पे जो डेट है वो ऑडिट रिपोर्ट की डेट के पास होनी चाहिए, लेकिन उसके बाद की नहीं होनी चाहिए. उसके पास होने का क्या लॉजिक है? ये स्टूडेंट्स, ये स्टूडेंट्स, कैन यू टेल what is the logic behind it? Yes, Rituraj, it's quite well you are saying that you are finding it now easy to learn after studying module 1. Module 1 is the very basis. Yes, Srinivasan, you were saying considering the information to the relevant date. No, my question to you, Srinivasan, is why it is written here that written representation should be near the date of auditor's report. Yes, Anmol Patwa, you are right. Manish Kumar, you are also nearing the point. So that it remains relevant till the completion of audit. Say, students, I give you an example. I signed an audit report on 15 July 23. Now, if I obtain written representation dated 30th April 23 from management, then what about between the intervening period? ऑडिट रिपोर्ट तो मैं साइन कर रहा हूं 15 जुलाई को, और मैनेजमेंट से जो रिटर्न रिप्रेजेंटेशन मैंने इतने सारे मैटर्स पे ली है वो 30 अप्रैल को ले ली. सो एक गैप क्रिएट हो जाएगा बीच में 2-2.5 महीने का. ओके, सो therefore it is stated that written representation shall be as near as practicable. जितना प्रैक्टिकेबल हो उतना नजदीक होनी चाहिए ऑडिट रिपोर्ट के. अगर से ऑडिट रिपोर्ट पे डेट 15 जुलाई है तो उसके आसपास 10 जुलाई, 12 जुलाई या जुलाई के फर्स्ट वीक, सेकंड वीक, सो इस टाइप से उसकी डेट होनी चाहिए. ओके. And it cannot be after the date of auditor's report in any case, because when you sign on the audit report on a particular date, then you have finished your job. So therefore it makes no sense to take a written representation which is dated after the date of auditor's report. Okay. Yes, Sankaran, yes, you are also nearing the point. So, because written representations are necessary audit evidence, the auditor's opinion cannot be expressed and auditor's report cannot be dated before the date of written representations. Okay. So, obviously, auditor's report has to be after written representation. It can't be before, because in such a case, written representation would be dated after the date of audit report. And another important reason, students, we have just read essay 560 subsequent events within this chapter. So like I have given you an example. So if I take written representation dated 30th April and my audit report is dated 15 July, then what about the events happening in between, subsequent events? So उसका डिस्क्लोजर या एडजस्टमेंट हुई है कि नहीं, उसके बारे में रिटर्न रिप्रेजेंटेशन कैसे होगी, उसके बारे में भी रिटर्न रिप्रेजेंटेशन लेनी है ना. सो दिस इज ऑल्सो वन ऑफ द फैक्टर. सो रिमेंबर दिस पॉइंट ऑल्सो. So written representations have to be as near as the date of auditor's report as it is practicable, but not after the date of auditor's report. Okay. And period, what about period? The written representation are for all periods referred to in the auditor's report, because management needs to confirm, reaffirm that written representation previously made with respect to prior periods remains appropriate. तो जो भी ऑडिट पीरियड का पीरियड है जिसके बारे में फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट्स रिलेट करती हैं, वो रिटर्न रिप्रेजेंटेशन उसके बारे में होनी चाहिए. ओके. फॉर्म ऑफ रिटर्न रिप्रेजेंटेशन. Form of written representation. Now, this is a written representation provided to you in your module, students. You can go through it. So it contains all the matters. This is the format. This is the illustrative format of a written representation. Like it would be given on the letterhead of the entity, of the company or the entity. It would be dated, say date here it is 15 July, to it would be addressed to the audit firm. Okay. Now this representation letter is provided in connection with your audit of financial statements of name of the company for year 31st March 22. So the period is 31st March 22 and the written representation is given on 15 July for the purpose of expressing an opinion whether financial statements give a true and fair view or in accordance with the applicable accounting standards in India. We confirm that to the best of our knowledge and belief, having made such inquiries as we considered necessary. So इसमें inquiries की बात आ गई कि कोई आपने स्पेशलाइज्ड नॉलेज, जिन लोगों ने, जिनके पास थी और उन्होंने हेल्प की है फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट्स बनाने के लिए, आपने उनसे कुछ पूछा है रिटर्न रिप्रेजेंटेशन देने से पहले, तो वी कंफर्म, ओके, that in respect of these matters, financial statements, that we have fulfilled all our responsibilities as set out in terms of audit engagement. इस लेटर में जो आपको जब ऑडिटर अपॉइंट किया था, व्हेन यू आर अपॉइंटेड एज ऑडिटर, so what was agreed between us, between the auditor and the management, between the auditor and the entity, we have fulfilled all those responsibilities for preparation of financial statements in accordance with the applicable financial reporting standards. All the assumptions, significant assumptions made by us in making accounting estimates have been measured at fair value or reasonable. Related party transactions have been accounted for and disclosed in accordance with the requirements of applicable accounting standards. Subsequent events. So all events which have happened after the date of financial statements have been either adjusted or disclosed in accordance with SA 560. The effects of uncorrected misstatements are immaterial. कि अगर कोई uncorrected misstatements हैं तो वो immaterial है उसका effect. That is trivial. That is trivial. तो अगर कोई ऐसी अनकरेक्टेड मिसस्टेटमेंट है जिसका इफेक्ट इनसिग्निफिकेंट है तो वो उसकी लिस्ट अटैच है. ये अभी हमने एसए 450 में, वी हैव जस्ट रेड इट नाउ. ये भी हमने एसए 560 में पढ़ा था. दिस ऑल्सो वी हैव रेड इट एसए 550. ओके, so this is regarding financial statements. And later on, regarding information provided, so again the management will confirm that we have provided with you all the access to information, all the records, and all other things which you called for, additional information you called for, unrestricted access to persons within the entity. So we have provided you access to all the persons from whom you needed to ask information. We have not prohibited you from making inquiries with the other persons. We have granted you complete access. So all these things management is going to confirm. Okay, so these things you already know, students. These things you already know. These you have read in chapter 1, chapter 4. These things all you have read. So all transactions have been recorded in the accounting records. So this, some of these things you would also be reading in chapter 11 in terms of audit engagement. We have disclosed to you the results of our assessment of risk. So their assessment of business risks, okay, and such type of matters. We have also disclosed to you all information in relation to fraud which has come to our notice. We have also disclosed to you all known instances of non-compliance or suspected non-compliance with laws. तो सब कुछ उनसे सब कुछ उससे लिखवा लेना है मैनेजमेंट से, सो दैट टू बाइंड. सो क्लियर स्टूडेंट्स, आपको रिटर्न रिप्रेजेंटेशन का मतलब समझ में आ गया? Doubts as to reliability of written representations. So students, if the auditor concludes that written representations are not reliable, the auditor shall take appropriate action, including determining the possible effect on the opinions in accordance with SA 705 having regard to disclaimer of opinion. So agar students, yes, Srinivasan, this written representation is given by management to the auditor would ask this written representation nearing the completion of audit before he signs the audit report. Before he signs on the audit report, he would ask from the management a written representation on these matters. Okay. So anyway, guys, so if the auditor concludes that written representations are not reliable, if he is having any doubt about the authenticity of written representation, that whatever management is representing is doubtful, is not correct, like say management is giving representation regarding related party transaction. He is saying, the management is saying that we have disclosed to you, but the auditor is doubtful. He has some evidence which points that some related parties may be in existence. Okay. So in such cases, when the written representation are itself doubtful, are themselves doubtful, therefore the auditor may consider to modify his opinion having regard to the disclaimer of opinion. The auditor may like to disclaim opinion in such case because management is giving is probably giving patently false written representations. Okay. Requested written representations not provided. So if the management does not provide one or more requested written representations, then what the auditor shall do? It means only this. So if the management does not provide written representations, then what the auditor shall do in such a situation? Discuss the matter with management, re-evaluate the integrity of management. तो ये तो स्टूडेंट्स काफी लॉजिकल है कि अगर मान लो कोई मैनेजमेंट जो है रिटर्न रिप्रेजेंटेशन देने से ही मना कर दे, इट डज नॉट प्रोवाइड, तो ऑडिटर को उसकी इंटीग्रिटी पे ही शक होगा कि ये तो लोग ही ठीक नहीं है. दीज प्रमोटर्स आर नॉट पर्संस ऑफ इंटीग्रिटी. और he would see what is the effect of not providing written representation on such important matters and audit evidence in general. और इसका क्या इफेक्ट हो सकता है इसके ओपिनियन पे, क्या उसको अपना ओपिनियन डिस्क्लेम करना चाहिए? यस यस मनीष, यू आर राइट. यस. ओके. So disclaimer of opinion in case of non-reliability of written representations about management responsibilities or failure to provide such written representations. So as we have discussed just now, the auditor shall disclaim an opinion on the financial statements. The auditor will say, we are not in a position to express the opinion, that we disclaim our opinion. Okay. When the auditor concludes that there is sufficient doubt about the integrity of management such that written representation about the management's responsibility regarding preparation of financial statements and about information and completeness of transactions are not reliable, or management does not provide written representations relating to fulfilling its responsibility regarding preparation of financial statements and about information provided and completeness of transactions. तो इन दो केसेस में ऑडिटर डिस्क्लेम कर देगा ओपिनियन अपना. ही वुड डिस्क्लेम हिज ओपिनियन व्हेन ही कंक्लूड्स दैट द थिंग्स विच आर प्राइमरी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज, इसके इन दो चीजों के बारे में जो ऑडिटर ने रिटर्न रिप्रेजेंटेशन दी है उनके बारे में डाउट है, या वो मैनेजमेंट ने रिटर्न रिप्रेजेंटेशन उन बारे में प्रोवाइड ही नहीं कराई. जैसे कि प्रिपरेशन ऑफ फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट्स के बारे में और कंप्लीटनेस ऑफ ट्रांजैक्शन के बारे में, इन दोनों मैटर्स के बारे में अगर मैनेजमेंट की जो रिटर्न रिप्रेजेंटेशन है वो डाउटफुल है, विच पुट्स ए बिग क्वेश्चन मार्क ऑन द इंटीग्रिटी ऑफ द मैनेजमेंट, और management does not provide the written representation at all, or if the management does not provide the written representations, then the auditor will disclaim the opinion. He would say that we disclaim our opinion. Okay. सो एक क्वेश्चन, ये चेकबॉक्स है स्टूडेंट्स, एक क्वेश्चन देख लेते हैं. टेस्ट योर अंडरस्टैंडिंग 5. नाउ सीए आर गुरुमूर्ति इज अबाउट टू कंप्लीट द ऑडिट ऑफ ए कंपनी. नाउ ही इज अबाउट टू कंप्लीट द ऑडिट ऑफ ए कंपनी. बिफोर कंप्लीशन he asks management to provide him a written representation confirming that management has fulfilled its responsibility regarding preparation of financial statements. Okay, the audit is near completion. Now the chartered accountant, he asks management to provide him a written representation regarding preparation of financial statements. Yes, Nancy, you would be reading about disclaiming opinion in detail in your next chapter. That is on audit report, chapter number 8. For the time being, you can understand that disclaimer means when the auditor is not in a position to express an opinion due to lack of evidence. Okay. When circumstances are such that he is not in a position to express, disclaim करना means वो कहता है कि भाई मैं डिस्क्लेम कर रहा हूं, मैं ओपिनियन दे ही नहीं रहा, आई एम डिस्क्लेमिंग माई ओपिनियन, आई एम नॉट इन ए पोजिशन टू एक्सप्रेस माई ओपिनियन. ओके. So he wants management to confirm in writing about providing the necessary information and completeness of transactions to him. तो दोनों चीजों के बारे में वो रिटर्न रिप्रेजेंटेशन मांग रहा है. The management feels that auditor is seeking irrelevant documents near the completion of audit. Why view of management is not proper? What possible implications it may lead to? Yes. Yes, students, write in your own language. Yes. Yes, so it is mandatory to take written representations. It is mandatory because it is required in SA 580. Yes, Srinivasan, you have given one part of the answer. What about other part? So you have to write, students, that management's view is not proper. Written representations are required to ensure that management has fulfilled its responsibilities, and it has provided all the necessary information to the auditor. The auditor may not be in a position um, to verify, to confirm that whether management has provided him all the information to him. Therefore, it is necessary for the management to confirm all such matters. And if the management does not provide such written representation to the auditor as these are required in SA 580, the auditor can disclaim the opinion. It is the same point here. if the management does not provide the written representation relating to fulfilling its responsibility regarding preparation of financial statements and about information provided at completeness of transactions, then the auditor shall disclaim an opinion. Okay. So clear to you guys? Yes. Yes. And Ashok Kharial, there was one of your queries of last lecture, page 7.8. Are you still logged in, Ashok? Yes, please confirm. Please confirm, Ashok Kharial, are you still logged in? Are you still able to hear me? Are you viewing this live lecture so that I can explain the relevant point to you? Yes, Ashok. Yes, Ashok, are you still logged in? Please confirm. Yes, Ashok. Ashok Kharial, are you still logged in? So meanwhile, students, we shall take your other queries. Ved Prakash, you are saying how to know material misstatement? Material. So for that, you have to arrive at the materiality first in accordance with SA 320. So first read SA 320, Ved Prakash. Yes, uncorrected misstatements I have already explained. Yes, uncorrected misstatements example was also there in test your understanding. Yes, Hemlata's second point of written representation was already explained. There are not much queries today. Yes, Ashok, and he is also not properly logged in. So students, let us quickly do some correct, incorrect type of questions. Yes. Are you ready, guys? So question number 1. Yes, Mukteshwari, emphasis of matter paragraph and other matter paragraph, which is written there in page 7.8. You will be reading about the same in your chapter on auditor's report, chapter number 8. So do not worry about the same. You would get clarity there. Okay. Yes, students. Are you able to see the screen? Yes, guys. Are you able to see the screen? Inability to pay the creditors on due dates is an example of operating event or condition that may cause significant doubt on ability of a entity to continue as a going concern. Yes, whether it is correct or incorrect. Inability to pay creditors on due dates is an example of operating event or conditions that may cause significant doubt on entity's ability to continue as a going concern. Yes. Yes. Anmol, you are right. And Rituraj, how you are writing it is correct? It is incorrect. It is an example of financial event. It is not an example of operating event. It is an example of financial event. Remember the table in SA 570 which provides uh, examples of conditions or events that make a significant doubt on an entity's ability to continue as a going concern. So this table has three parts. First part is financial event, second is operating event, third is other events. So inability to pay creditors is an example of financial event. So this is incorrect. No, Anmol, disclaimer and adverse opinion are not same. You would learn about this. You would learn about this in next chapter. Yes. Second, if financial statements have been prepared using the going concern basis of accounting, but in auditor's opinion, management use of going concern assumption is inappropriate, the auditor shall disclaim opinion. Remember something about 570? If the management has prepared the accounts on going concern basis, but the auditor finds that going concern basis is not appropriate, okay, then what are the implications for auditor's report? Yes, yes, Anmol, you are right on the dot. With lightning fast speed, you are correct. You are dot on the point. Yes, the auditor shall express a adverse opinion. This is also incorrect. The auditor shall give an adverse opinion. Incorrect. The auditor shall give an adverse opinion in such a case. Third, if management has not made assessment of any entity's ability to continue as a going concern, it is auditor's responsibility to rectify lack of analysis by management. अगर मैनेजमेंट गोइंग कंसर्न का अपनी असेसमेंट करती ही नहीं है तो ऑडिटर की रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है कि उस लैक ऑफ एनालिसिस को ठीक करे. यस. क्वेश्चन नंबर 3. यस, वेदर इट इज करेक्ट और इनकरेक्ट. Yes, all of you are right. This is also incorrect. It is not auditor's responsibility. The auditor can only request management to prepare an assessment. It is none of his responsibilities to rectify lack of analysis by management. So this is also incorrect. So students, all these questions help to build your conceptual understanding. आप जब ये करते हैं तो आपका कंसेप्ट रिवाइज हो जाता है. बात ये नहीं है कि ऐसे क्वेश्चन कर लिए, आपको कभी ऐसे नहीं सोचना कि मैंने करेक्ट इनकरेक्ट कर लिए, मैंने एमसीक्यूज कर लिए. आप देखिए कि आपने वो टॉपिक कैसा आपने समझा, वो टॉपिक कैसा आपने अंडरस्टैंड किया, और उस हिसाब से जो मर्जी क्वेश्चन आ जाए, जिस मर्जी फॉर्मेट में आ जाए, आप उसको टैकल कर सकते हैं. ओके. तो ये क्वेश्चन आपके एमसीक्यू में भी आ सकते हैं, ये डिस्क्रिप्टिव में भी आ सकते हैं, कहीं भी आ सकते हैं. ये केस स्टडी में भी हो सकता है. यस. क्वेश्चन नंबर 4. द ऑडिटर शेल कम्युनिकेट on a timely basis all misstatements accumulated during audit with appropriate level of management unless prohibited by law. Yes, it is correct. Because why? What is the reason for it? Reason for it, because it is required. It is a requirement of SA 450. SA 450 requires that auditor shall communicate on a timely basis all misstatements identified during the audit, all misstatements accumulated during the audit with management unless prohibited by law. So it is correct. Now question number 5. SA 450 deals with auditor's responsibility to obtain written representations from management. Yes. So simple. So simple, yes, guys. SA 450 deals with auditor's responsibility to obtain written representations from management. Yes, why? Why incorrect? And why correct? Sangeeta S. Partha Sarthi, you are writing it. Question number 5 is correct. And Bhumika, you are saying that question number 5 is incorrect, but without any reasons. Yes, Anmol, you are correct. This statement is incorrect. Anmol is right. SA 580 deals with ऑडिटर्स रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी. अभी तो हमने SA 580 पढ़ा है स्टूडेंट्स, अभी अब भूल गए. SA नंबर ही गलत दिया हुआ है. SA 450 तो, और you can write that SA 450 deals with evaluation of identified misstatements during the audit. It deals with the auditor's responsibility to evaluate misstatements identified during the audit. SA 580 deals with the auditor's responsibility to obtain written representations, whereas SA 450 deals with auditor's responsibility to evaluate identified misstatements. Okay. So 5 is also incorrect. Yes, Harish Chandar, you are also right. And Srinivasan, you are also right. It can be written in both ways. Rituraj, Sanjana Ben, you are also right. Kadambari, you are also right. So clear to you guys? So students, today we have done these two short essays, essay 450 and essay 580. Hope you have understood all the things in proper context, and you have gained an understanding of all these topics. So it's over for today. So see you on coming Friday, guys. Thank you. Thank you.